Go ahead and get started with our FY26 elected officials budget meeting. Today's date is June 17th, 2025. The time is 11 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Public comment? Hearing none, we'll go into our first business item. FY26 budget review with the coroner. It's an action item, and we have Dr. Duke Johnson.
For this proposed budget for this upcoming year is really broken down into just three simple topics. One is related to the on-call pay that which was initially instituted last year, and we just had to increase that simply because of the extension for the whole year. It started mid-year, and so we are not changing it at all. It's just a continuation of the same. The second topic basically has to do with our taking over the Pierce Clegg building. So in other words, we have additional charges as far as, electricity and janitorial maintenance, et cetera, which we have to assume because of our responsibility of managing that building and its infrastructure. And then thirdly, with the anticipation of the opening of the autopsy center, what we wanted to be able to do is allow other coroner offices in North Idaho to view our facility, and then basically put in a budget to have a meeting to invite them to tour the facility, et cetera. I've already spoken to all of the coroners from Lewiston north to the Canadian border. Told them that if we were going to go in this direction, would you be willing to send your autopsies to our facility? And all of them said they would be very open to that concept and be willing to do so. And so we wanted to have just a small amount of funding with advertising to be able to have in our budget to be able to bring them up, because that would be something that instead of monies going to Spokane, paying for autopsies in Spokane, they would be bringing their money to our facility to keep it in the state of Idaho to pay for the medical examiner when we bring them by. So that's really all that we've added to our budget. It's a very small change overall.
So is that the increase of 2,000 going from 1,000 to 3,000? Is that line item?
Yeah, I was wondering, could you just give us
meetings.
each item and then how much you're asking for?
Absolutely. Just the continuation of the on-call pay. That went from, I forget, from mid-year. I believe it was what was adopted in 2025 was $5,000, and for and so for the proposed budget, it would go up to 13,000, but it's just a completion of the whole year per se. Additionally, what we're doing beyond that would be computer supplies for the new medical examiner. When we come by, we plan on starting off with him only coming by once a week or once every 2 weeks, but he needs his whole system for basically, filling out all of his reports, et cetera. And that's line item 8030. So the computer supplies for $3,000 there. And then we have janitorial services at 8215 to assume the whole building. It's an increase in 3,600. Local meetings and expos is what I was referring to for bringing others in. $2,000 was budgeted for that, which just if we were able to bring one autopsy in North Idaho, that would more than pay for itself. Line item number 8302 and 8303 are related, airfare and lodging. We have every 2 years, we have continuing education credits that are required for us to keep our accreditation. And last year we didn't have as many, but we do have a new death investigator this year who needs to apply and get more of her credits and some renewing of our other staff. And so that's where the airfare and lodging were increased $2,000 and each in order to do that. And then building maintenance and repair, or no, print shop cost, excuse me, $8801 for just $388 to advertise. So our budget is just very, very few minor changes, and those were the changes right there.
So the budget basically went from $1,036,000 to $1,062,000, about $25,000 increase.
Yes, and with the largest part of that being the on-call pay.
Which is about 8,000. So, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, item 2, FY26 budget review with our prosecuting attorney, and we have Stanley Mortensen.
Good morning. The board like me to just start talking, or should I wait for
It's your
questions?
budget,
Okay.
so I'll let you lead the way.
So as the board can see, for my civil division budget, we're talking about the B budget, I believe I'm only asking for an increase of just over $2,100. And largely, these are in areas where, quite frankly, we've gone over budget, or we're going to be over budget by projection, and it's not by much, but these are just necessary things. These are professional reference materials, you know, getting people to conferences to get their mandatory CLE hours, things like that. So it's a very, very small request.
Real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Stan. Brandy, I'm looking through the civil tab here, and is there something I'm missing with that? I see that we have a group insurance item, but that's probably something that's outside of the control of the budget.
Yep, so the first, it's not until you get to row 17, which is account 7920, where the B budget starts. And those are, from there down,
Got it.
is where you'll see the change of 2,100. The accounts above that are all various increases or decreases in their A budget that are outside of their control.
Got
due
it.
to increased cost of insurance, different employees at different rates of pay, so on and so forth.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Stan.
Certainly. And moving over to the criminal side with the B budget, it's basically the same thing. This is an increase of just under $4,800. I would argue that's a very small increase. And again, these are areas where we've either gone over or we're going to be over by projection. And these are things that are largely necessary or out of our control. You know, transcripts, we're asking for almost an $1,800 increase. When a case goes up on appeal, that's out of our control. We have to get the transcripts. And that's whether my office is handling the appeal or the Attorney General's office is handling the appeal for us. We get the transcripts. There are times where the defense gets transcripts and they won't and can't share them with us. We have to get our own. When we have a grand jury or we're getting ready for a trial, we'll need a prior hearing transcribed so that our witnesses can properly prepare. And so the transcripts is a big part of just going to trial, and that's the reason for that increase. There is a $3,000 increase for professional reference materials. That, I believe, is for Westlaw. I talked to Pat Braden, one of my civil prosecutors. It's the same thing with civil. There's a projection that that's just going to increase every year by a certain percentage, and that's just to prepare for that. I believe that was the extent of the increases for the B budget of criminal. Are there any questions on my B budget?
I have one. So you got the part-time investigator approved, but there's $2,000 in the budget for like a new program expansion, like onboarding, essentially. Do you need that since he was a former employee?
I don't think that he was outfitted with what he needed to be a more
Okay.
permanent. He's still temporary, but he was way more part-time than he is now before. And so we're trying to get him what he needs to do the job.
Okay, and is that something that you have in this year's budget since he's already starting?
We have money in the budget in its entirety as far as line items. I don't know that I have the answer to those questions. I don't have that data in front of me.
I'm fine, it's a insignificant amount, but if he's already started and you're gonna wait till October to buy him his stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
he's operating without some things right now.
Okay,
That's what I can tell the board.
Can you get him his stuff now?
We can,
Do you have savings in your budget where you could do that?
in the entire budget in its entirety, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are other line items that there's money in the budget.
yeah.
So if we bought him what he needs now, we're not gonna be over budget. We might be over a line item or two,
Sure.
but not in its entirety.
I'd say get him what he needs. Let's not wait.
yeah.
Certainly.
Any thoughts? Yeah. All right.
As far as are we talking about A budget as well? Or just B budget?
That was the only thing that stood out to me, is if he started already, why do we have that going forward if you can do it now?
Okay.
We don't want to have
This microphone.
Yeah, it's not that he can't do his job, he's kind of limited with what he can do, and so we'll get him what he needs now, and we'll pull it out of this year's budget. As far as the A budget goes, there's basically three things there: the temporary part-time investigator and temporary part-time victim coordinator. I would like that to continue through the next fiscal year. Right now, the board has already approved those, but that's up until the end of this fiscal year. I would like to have that funded through the next fiscal year as well. And again, that's offset by me not hiring that legal assistant. So it's more or less a wash, but it does need board approval to continue over to the next fiscal year. The other requests are to elevate those 3 deputy prosecutor positions, to call for them prosecuting felony work within their first year once they start advancing. So I believe that was the extent of my
And you're also
request.
freezing your part-time
Yes,
attorney position, so that's a savings of $122,000.
yeah, and of course we'll be freezing that.
So is your budget going down or up this year?
It's going down.
I believe it's going down, I just.
Well,
wanted
thank
to-
you, prosecuting attorney
Sorry.
Duncan. I
Well,
was
I have
actually
it right in
asking
front
our
of me, so-
prosecuting attorney what
I
his budget
appreciate
is.
that. I didn't have that directly in front of me, and I didn't want to speak from memory. It is going down.
Okay.
There's budget savings.
And how much?
This?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
And I would like to note that my budget's going down despite the fact that we're operating with more attorneys than we have been over the last few years. So not to pat myself on the back, but I think I've done a good job with the budget.
Well, you should pat yourself on the back. You've actually have done a pretty good job with the budget, and you're very mindful. At least the last couple and a half years I've been working with you about that. And I think the one time that you really, pushed for a lot of money was because you couldn't hire people. You didn't have the money necessary to pay people so that you could get qualified applicants, which is really, absolutely necessary. So,
I appreciate that.
Are you going to present the HR and juvenile diversion budgets as well?
I have those figures as well.
The civil and criminal budgets are not going down, but HR is going down, and that is what is causing the prosecutor to show up as a budget decrease. So I didn't know if you were gonna go over, those are your other two budgets.
Yeah, I have the diversion numbers. If the board recalls, the juvenile diversion office was given a new body, a new person this last year, and so basically everything's going up by one person. And so it's an increase of 5% over the last year. That's $655. I don't know that I have HR's numbers in front of me right now.
Okay, HR's B budget is going down 39,000. We would have to have Lexi here to probably explain exactly why. From what I'm looking at, their advertisements, their software, and their consultants are all going down fairly significantly. But we'd have to have the department head here to do a full explanation of why.
Anyone have any questions? Well, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment. Come on down.
Morning, Commissioners. Ron Hartman for the record. This applies over all the departments, not just one in specific. Back on June 2nd was the FY26 budget kickoff. At that time, in the budget was to 100% fund jobs up to that have been open for 100 days. So it's my understanding any jobs over 100 days had no funding. But I would like to suggest you can't fill all those jobs on day one that are 100 days or less. I feel that you should fund no more than 30% of them for the full 12 months, 30% of them for no more than 9 months, and 40% at 6 months. I think this would be quite a large savings that is kind of a hidden slush in the budget is the way I look at it. Another one is just a concept. When I started at Caterpillar 15 years ago, they, at that time, eliminated general retirement pensions. When I was at Ford, they eliminated them over 24 years ago. I think it's time that maybe the finance department looks at what it would take to say at a certain point coming in now that anybody new hire gets a 401k and no longer gets a retirement pension. I think there's a lot of money that could be saved here. And I think it's just being competitive with what's been out in the corporate world for 25 years. And I think it's time that the counties start looking at this as an opportunity. And I think there's a lot to look at there, but you don't know until you start crunching the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
To clarify for the record, so Kootenai County is required by Idaho law to contribute to pensions. We don't have a choice. So that's not an option for us. And then the open positions that are in the budget right now, if they've been vacant for over 100 days, they're being budgeted at 50%. And the board has the ability to change that funding percentage.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? 11:19, meeting adjourned. Thank you.